So I'm here now with Helena Cunningham. She is the Sergeant of the Domestic Abuse Team in the Royal Gibraltar Police, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her role in the Public Protection Unit and also about her experience of women in policing. Thanks for agreeing to talk to us today,
That's
Helena.
okay, my pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about your role in the Royal Gibraltar Police.
Okay, so I've been in the police just shy of 10 years now, 8 of which I spent on response teams, which I loved. I love being the front line, kicking the doors in, getting into the action. I got promoted whilst on shift, spent about 3 years on shift as a sergeant, really enjoyed it, but I've always sort of swayed towards domestic abuse policing. I think it's a really interesting area of work, really enjoyed it. So when a vacancy came up for a DS in crime for the domestic abuse team, I had to go, and I've been there just over a year now.
Okay, thanks. And so talk to you. You mentioned a little bit about your time in response policing. What were some of your highlights of that time?
For me, one of the biggest highlights was probably the teamwork, the sort of camaraderie between all the shift officers, because obviously policing is a very male-dominated profession. It probably always will be, but and I liked working with such a big team and learning how people work and like what their views were, what their roles were, and that's what I really enjoyed most about it.
Okay, and so what made you said you were always drawn to sort of domestic abuse and protecting the most vulnerable. What specifically was it that drew you to that?
I think because in my previous career I was an occupational therapist, so I've always been sort of, when I work with people, I like working with people, understanding people and listening to people. So for me, that kind of those skills transferred quite nicely into DA policing, public protection, because we're dealing with victims and also suspects of DA, and a lot of the work we do is about listening and empathy and understanding what's going on. So I think that's why I'm sort of drawn to it.
Okay, thank you. And so the first time we met, Helena, was last year in December. We met at the Senior Women in Policing Conference in Oxford. We had some really interesting conversations there. Can you talk me a little bit about what the conference did for you?
That was really an interesting one for me, because it's the first time I've ever been on anything associated with women in policing, because as I say, I've been here 10 years. I'm quite sceptical. I was quite sceptical about women in policing because I've been here 10 years and never really had any issues as a woman. I don't see what all the fuss is about. And so when I was selected to go on the conference, I thought, okay, I'll go with an open mind and see, what comes of it. But it was life-changing. Yeah, life-changing. It was 3 days there where I was surrounded by all these powerful women. I felt so empowered and inspired. And I think what struck with me is because I'm not one that wants to progress up the ranks. I love my role as a sergeant. I think it's a great role, and I can see myself retiring as a sergeant. So for me, why am I going to bother investing in it when I don't want promotion? And then it was just flipping it on its head, thinking, well, actually, I want to learn more. I want to learn how to empower and inspire my colleagues to go for promotion, to progress up the ranks. That's my job. I'm a sergeant. I'm a line manager. I want to help push other people to achieve their aims. And I was just surrounded by women of all these ranks and their challenges, and it just really sort of clicked for me, and it made me really appreciate actually women in policing is quite an important role, and me as a sergeant, I have a duty to sort of spread that message across the force and help other officers develop.
That's brilliant, and I was really touched by that, because I shared something similar with you when I first got into policing. I didn't see the benefits, and I had a similar and by going to a conference, I had a similar light bulb moment, and it's really lovely when other people get that. So go back to your role in the Public Protection Unit. The Foreign Office have been putting some funding your way in a pilot with Devon and Cornwall Police. What improvements have you seen in that unit with the assistance of that funding?
I think for me the biggest thing is the networking and like having people to go to and open communication, because public protection is a lot about sharing information. We have to keep on our toes and share information between departments, and so to have links with Devon and Cornwall and their practices and how they're developing things has been really good for us in the RGP. So we're listening to them, finding out what's working there and how we can implement that in our small force here and sort of try and progress.
Brilliant. And I'll speak more to the inspector about it, but he was telling me that public confidence appears to have really improved.
Yes, I mean, I'm a big fan of using media as a tool in policing, a very big fan. And I think especially with domestic abuse in Gibraltar, we're a very small community, so a lot of people may fear reporting because their family member might live next door or you bump into them into the street, so it's very difficult. But we've noticed that since we've been publishing more and more out on media, people are seeing it and thinking, oh, actually, if I do report something, I'll get taken seriously. Things will happen. There's court outcomes. People are going to court for this. This is great. So we are starting to see more and more people report now, which is great.
And I think my final question for you, you said that you don't necessarily want to progress up the ranks. You're happy to be a sergeant, and I think that's fantastic because the empowerment of women isn't just about promotion. It's about making sure that women get the best out of their career so that they can be the best police officers. What's next for Helena?
For me, I mean, I love the DA team, and my idea is to like keep growing it and keep pushing it. But then it's also pushing my team members to go further. Like I'm lucky I've got another female in my team, Kiana, and I see so much in her, and I'm just like keen to sort of really push her, and obviously that will mean a detriment to my team because she will flee at some point. But you know, for me, it's about developing officers and just really pushing DAT, and also we're getting a lot more women joining up now, and I think if they see successful women in like specialized departments and progressing and stuff, then it'll excite them to do the same thing and to help develop and keep them in the job. So that's what I see myself doing.
Oh well, that's brilliant. I mean, hopefully, I'm going to keep working on it. Hopefully, we'll see you even maybe push for inspector.
We'll see. We'll see.
Thanks very much for your
No
time,
problem.
Helena. It's been really lovely to talk to you. So I'm here now with Joanna Ullger. She's also part of the Public Protection Unit in Royal Gibraltar Police, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her role. So Joanna, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Joanna Ullger. I'm a detective sergeant on the safeguarding team. Prior to joining the Royal Gibraltar Police in 2018, I was a police officer with Thames Valley Police. I worked in the area of Reading, and I joined in 2002. Whilst with Thames Valley Police, I served on the drugs team, the robbery and burglary team, and then I had a burning desire to join the safeguarding team. It was actually called the Child Abuse Investigation Unit with Reading Police, and I served on that unit for 9 years until I decided I was going to transfer back to my hometown of Gibraltar and come back here to live. So then I joined the RGP in 2018, did response teams for about a year and a half, and then once again I kind of wanted to go back into the child abuse investigation role, and I joined the safeguarding team, served there for a couple of years, and then got promoted in about 2021, and I'm still on the unit, so it's my absolute passion. It's where I'd like to stay, probably a little bit of a break to go to response teams for a little bit, just for maybe a few months, but then come back. It's what I'm really passionate about, so yeah, it's good.
So a few of your colleagues, Joanna, have mentioned that their passion for that safeguarding role. And I know from people I've spoken to that it's a really challenging and difficult role. And what is it that draws you to that world?
It's the reward, it's the investigations and the reward that comes at the end of that. So it's speaking to children, it's investigating the crimes, it's alleviating any fears, any worries. It's also it's not all about criminal investigations, it's also about education. So there's a lot of work that we do in schools. We work very closely with the Minister for Education in terms of educating children from as young as about probably 7 years of age. We know that the world of technology has advanced so much, so it's all about keeping on top of that technology and going into schools and educating children. But the greatest, I think, satisfaction is when we have very complex cases, and we there's a success at the end of that. So it's seeing that closure for those victims, young or older, because we do investigate non-recent offences, and it's just seeing that closure where they're able to finally move on with their lives. So that for me is what's really rewarding in this job. And working with partner agencies is very good when a good plan comes together. So yeah, that's good. It's good that we work as part of public protection, and we all work together in that field, and we all pull together, and we see the rewards for our colleagues as well. So yeah, we've just secured a 39-year conviction on somebody, so that was a very good, interesting case.
That's what a result. Are you able to share any more about that, or is it a...
So that case is concluded at court. It literally concluded on the 28th of January this year. Basically, 5 victims came forward, and they were abused by someone that their families trusted when they were children, from as young as 7 years old. Really horrible, awful, heinous crimes. Apart from 2 of the victims, the others didn't know each other, and it was very important during that case that we kept them all separate as best as we could, so that there was no, accusations in court of police officers colluding with all the victims. And we did that. It was a 4-year investigation. And it was about an 8-week trial at court, and the jury, after about an hour and a half, which is a very, very quick turnaround, they determined 19 out of 20 counts guilty. So we were very, very happy with that result, not just for the investigating team, but the victims. The victims really deserved this. So yeah, and hopefully safeguarded other potential people out there who could have been victims of his. And I think for even those that were victims that haven't come forward, they got closure themselves because of that case. Maybe they felt it wasn't their time to come forward, but I'm hoping that they could get closure because of that case.
What a phenomenal result that Silent. 4 years is a long time and a lot of hard work. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm always really inspired to hear things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think the longest conviction we've had in Gibraltar, so it's good.
And I think that would have a really positive impact on the community in terms of building trust with the community, that it's never too late.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, from that followed interviews with the Chronicle, interviews with GBC. There's I think because over the years we've been doing really well, and it does go out on the news. I think people do see, and I think people are entrusting the police force a lot more, and they are coming forward and reporting things to us. So that's really nice for us as well. That is happening. But I do feel we do need to grow as a unit so that we can continue to do this good work, because the work is growing, and that's good all along public protection. I think the work is growing. So there's been really, really good results.
Oh, well, you've actually led me to something that I've spoken to a couple of the others about. The FCDO has spent a lot of time in its gender programme, been developing people, developing women, but that's all with the purpose of tackling Vogue, which is a huge problem, and obviously child abuse sits well under that. What opportunities have you had as part of that programme?
So it must have been last year. I can't remember which month. I was sent to Brighton for the Violence Against Women and Girls conference. I attended with Chief Inspector Quigley, and that for me was eye-opening. It really, really was. Listening. So we had mornings of conferences and guest speakers, and then in the afternoon we had workshops. But I must say, I took away from each day, I took away something from each talk, I took away something. And I must say, I think I came out of that so inspired, just to hear these women, who had maybe sort of not come from very much, and ended up because of their experience, and obviously a sad experience maybe with what had happened to them, but what their case with the police and how they turned into these powerful women, and the talks they were given. It was really impactful. But that's also given me an opportunity, one, to learn from all of that and to bring back that knowledge to the RGP. And there's many things that we've implemented in terms of change that's, I think, going to work for the positive for us. So in October of 2024, the FCDO funded for myself and the inspector of the safeguarding unit to attend a SUDIC course, which is the sudden unexpected death in infancy and childhood. And basically what had happened is we had a baby death in Gibraltar in the August, and we realised that none of us had actually had any training. We followed a plan and a process that we have had in the RGP for many years, but we hadn't had any training. We attended Exeter, the police force in Exeter. We were there for 4 days on the course. And once again, we met with colleagues of similar backgrounds. We learnt a lot from them. And for us, that learning was incredible. There were things there that we've never even heard of before on the course, and just so much learning to take away. And with that, we are implementing things in Gibraltar with the Gibraltar Health Authority. So your equivalent in the UK would be the NHS. We're implementing new things with the care agency here. And it's once again that multi-agency working and educating each other on how we can improve our services. So I must say, it's so invaluable what we've been able to do, with the funding of the FCDO. And, I must say, yourself, Marie, you've been very, very helpful always at the end of an email or of the phone. And yeah, absolutely. It would be helpful for us to continue because we're forever growing. And we'd like to continue, attending, courses and work and educating the RGP, but not only the RGP, it's like our multi-agency friends, and educating everybody to deliver a better service for Gibraltar.
Yeah, and that's brilliant, Joanna. And I think, just to, for people watching, something to think of is in the UK when people go to training, they're with colleagues from all over the country and they're learning from each other and they're able to share ideas and share things they've done. So, Jo, you mentioned that you'd been to the VOG conference, which was the College of Policing and National Police Chiefs Council strategic VOG conference, where I had all the strategic leads from the UK there. And so tell me a little bit about attending that. What changes do you think that made for you?
So I must say that prior to attending, working in the public protection unit, the only team that's really not appealed to me has been the domestic abuse team. And I suppose maybe bad on my part, but I've always thought, these domestic abuse victims, they keep going back, we're going to do all this work and they'll keep going back and they keep going back. And really that's not something that interested me. It's never been a department that I've ever wanted to work on. And then I attended the Violence Against Women and Girls conference, and that was just absolutely eye-opening. I loved it. I took so much away from it. And, hearing our guest speakers and what they'd been through and how we as an organisation could learn from that, not only personally, but as an organisation, individually, response teams, and how much could be brought back from that. I definitely have changed my view on the domestic abuse team. In fact, if ever I was asked to be a sergeant and run the domestic abuse team, I'd really embrace it, and it's just completely changed my whole perspective. We just took away so much from that, and like I mentioned earlier, just women from their experiences and what they'd been through, turning into these powerful women and come into those conferences and talking about what happened to them and sharing those really sensitive experiences. But for us, receiving that, those talks and being able to go to that conference, we learned so much. And also another thing that was very important for us is we had some interesting workshops on well-being, which is where the force is going at the moment in that direction. Well-being is very, very important. So we had some interesting talks and takeaways from that, and also something that has changed in how we work when we have a report of indecent exposure, that how serious indecent exposures are and how they should not be dealt with by our first response teams. They should be dealt with by crime because of the escalating behaviour, and that's been a big takeaway from us. So there was so much learning on that conference, and I absolutely loved it. And like I said, for me, the biggest thing was it just changed my perception on violence against women and girls, and something that I really would like to work on at some point in my career.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Joanna. I think it's really important. I think sometimes conferences are very misunderstood in terms of people say, oh, you're going for a jolly. But actually, they're really excellent learning opportunities. I've heard from yourself and from somebody else who went to a conference and said it was life-changing. It really changed their perspective on a big issue. And I think that that's really important for people to understand. And if you do get the opportunity to go to a conference, take it, because the learning is vast and it might be life-changing.
Yeah, the learning and then the work when we get back, what we have to implement.
No.
It's all positive.
Let's not tell them about the extra work. We don't want to put them off going. So if you don't have those networks and you don't go to training over there, how do you develop those networks? How do you learn those new things?
Exactly. That's why it's been so valuable for us, and it's really been an eye-opener, and it's made us sort of fill in some gaps that we've had that we've really needed to fill in, and makes us more professional, which is something that we've needed. So
great. And so I'll just finish off. Thank you for all of that. I think what you do is really inspiring, and I've always, every time I've met you, I've been really inspired by you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
for what
much.
you do. And so what's next for you? That's my thing. What's next for Jo?
Well, I've asked for a little bit of a break from safeguarding. I'm just like maybe a few months on response teams, just to clear my head a little bit. From like 14 years in safeguarding is a very long time in total. So, but then I do want to come back, and my aspirations are to pass my inspector's exam.
Brilliant.
And if I end up as an inspector of public protection unit, I wouldn't shy away from that. I'd really embrace it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next year I'll sit my exam and hope for the best.
Oh, well, I'll definitely be rooting for you.
Thank you.
So here with Caroline from the Royal Gibraltar Police. She's a member of the Public Protection Unit, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her role. So Caroline, thank you for agreeing to have a conversation with me.
You're welcome.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name's Caroline, and I work in the safeguarding team at the Royal Gibraltar Police here. I am 53 years of age. I'm 54 next week, not next year, 54 next week. 54, I can't believe it sometimes. I feel like I'm in my 30s, but then other days I do feel like I'm in my 50s. Can't actually believe that I am coming up to a year before I officially retire.
You don't look it.
So yeah, I've worked here I'm in my 5th year now. I joined the police at the age of 49, moving over from the UK. Yeah, so I've been here for 5 years. I joined the police on shift, did that for 2 years, and I was working in shift I was a van driver. Best job in the world, absolutely loved it. Working with other officers, it was amazing, absolutely loved it. We were just like one big family, really. And I supported the campaign for women in policing, purely, I think, because I was an older lady coming through the police and joining at my age, and showing the experience that I had prior to me joining the police, and what I brought to the police, and just the fact that showing the older generation that you can do it if that's what you want to do and that's your dream, that you can do it, and just try and never think that your age will stop you from doing something that you actually believe that you can do or you want to do.
So you had an interesting career before you came here. What was it you did before?
So I was a prison officer. I worked in the UK in a women's prison. The prison that I worked in was HMP Style, which was near Manchester Airport. I was there for 17 years, where I was a prison officer for 10 years, working with remand prisoners, female prisoners, I think I've covered. And when we say female prisoners, when you work in a female prison, it's not categorised. So it's all types of offences that come to a female prison. So it can be petty crimes, women with mental health issues. We had a mother and baby unit. I then became a senior officer after 10 years, where I was managing the mother and baby unit. I also was a manager on the mental health unit, which was really good and tied in with coming over to the police here, and also the job that I did in between moving from the UK to Gibraltar. And I worked on the remands. So yeah, the experience that I brought was not only my the age that I brought, but also the work life experience that I brought with me, and just life in general, what I've gone through in my personal journey as well.
And do you think it was working in that women's prison that it was what drew you to work in the public protection unit? Those sort of experiences around some of those women that you worked with prior.
Absolutely. I knew in my heart that was my vocation. That's what I wanted to do. I was aware that coming to the police that I would have to learn the ropes of being a police officer. Completely understood that, and I loved it. I loved working with shift. Like I said before, we were a family, and the things that jobs we went to, and that makes you, gives you all the skills that make you a good thing. That all the skills that make you to become a police officer. But I wanted then to focus on something that was really important to me, and again, because of the jobs that I've done from leaving the prison service, I worked in mental health for 5 years, working in the community. Absolutely loved it, working with vulnerable adults, and that was so rewarding that you could help somebody, even if it was just helping to encourage them to get to a local shop. It was just so rewarding to see that how much the confidence it gave somebody. So I knew when I came here that was something that I really wanted to do. And again, working alongside children, and what we specialise in now in the safeguarding unit, it's working with sexual offences against children and mental health with vulnerable adults. So I feel that all the skills that I've brought to the table over the years has been really beneficial to where I'm working now.
That's brilliant. And have you got any sort of future career plans before your retirement next year, or could we persuade you to stay on a bit longer?
A funny one that I'm constantly thinking about it all the time. I've had a lot of life changes in the past year. Things probably here, things personal as well. And I love my job. I absolutely love it. Where I would like to be is, it's a difficult one, because as much as I love what I'm doing as a police officer, I feel that I would like to use my skills doing something else as well. They say there's a reason why people retire at 55. It's because the type of the job that you do, it is really, really intense at times. I would like to use my skills and maybe working along the same line, maybe stay here and look at doing something differently. Maybe retire as a police officer and do something as a civilian role, but working in the same area, which is what at the moment I'm talking to my bosses about. Given that opportunity with all the skills that I have and the experience that I've got, and knowing what the role is about, maybe we could come to something that we could discuss. But yeah, I mean, I love it here. The police is a police family. I'm part of the wellbeing service as well. So maybe coming into doing something along that line as well, freeing up, giving the other officers more time to do their work, so that I'm there as a civilian, helping and assisting on doing something there, and obviously the women in policing. So yeah, I'm doing quite a bit, and maybe, you never know, maybe I can bring something to the table, and they could be happy to keep me.
I think you can bring a lot to the table. Thank you very much for talking to me, dear Caroline. It's been really fun.
Thanks, Marie.